Jabulani, Jabulani, Africa. And welcome to the Ruby Tuesday. My name is Ruben, and this is my review for Netflix's original South African TV series, QUEENSONO. A highly trained South African spy takes on her most dangerous mission yet while facing changing relationships in her personal life. So first things first, I'm totally biased when it comes to this series, although I have to say I was quite worried going into watching this series because I've seen some South African content that isn't great. It can be really cheesy. It can remind you a lot of soaps, but like not well done soaps. And then there's a humor that sometimes happens with South African content that just can't be explained. So you kind of have to be South African to get the humor. Otherwise, if you're outside of the continent or South Africa even, you may not get the humor and it will just fall on deaf ears. So I was a little bit worried going into this. It's only 6 episodes. I was very excited to see that Netflix has backed this, and I have to say, it's actually pretty good. I'm pleasantly surprised. The lead plays the role of the spy. Her turmoil in her life is very relatable, even though I'm not Black African and I'm not a female, I'm not a spy. There are relatable issues that they deal with within family life. I think that is quite relatable. Everything I see on screen just made my heart sore because it's I don't get to go back home very often. Haven't been for a long time, and to see Johannesburg, where I was born and raised, not Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, where I was born and raised. If you watch this and you think, oh, what was he talking about, then that's understandable. But I actually think the action sequences reminded me a little bit of the Jason Bourne films or a similar espionage thrillers. It's done to that kind of level of quality. There are some of the fight sequences that I thought were very good. Although some of the fight sequences are intercut very quickly so that it makes you sometimes think that if they aren't as good as they are, but I think that's not the case. I think had they given the space for the shots to be wide, you would see that actually the protagonists and the people that are fighting in those action sequences are very believable. There were a couple of punches that looked like they didn't connect, but for like 99%, well, let's say 90% of the time, I really bought that our spy could fight, and if she hit you, you would feel it. The story itself is quite complicated. It's very heavily influenced on politics, which I think is the correct move to go is South Africa. If you know anything about South Africa, there's this political situation, as with most countries, but there is a political situation or story behind something that's political that's always going on in the background. And so to have that as part of the main story, I think is quite relatable to if you live in South Africa, or if you are African, you know anything about it. I like where the series also takes place. It's not just South Africa. It's Lagos, it's Congo. There are different locations, and each location I feel like has its own color, temperature. The cinematography in this is pretty good. I love the night shoot. Some of the lighting they use is very good. I love the color saturation and just the vibrancy of the shots that they show really brings to heart the culture of South Africa. And that's what I loved about this. There was no authenticity lost, I don't think. You can correct me if I'm wrong if you're South African and you're watching this. Like, that's nonsense. I really felt like they went for what made South Africa Africa. They have a budget now. It's a Netflix series, but actually they've gone for what makes South Africa fun to watch. So you have multiple languages within a show. It's the predominant language is English, but they cross over to Zulu and they cross over to Afrikaans, and so you get this interlacing language that really feels almost multicultural, or just multiple. That's not a language. Multiple languages intersected, and that is South Africa. There are lots of national languages, and so I thought that was really well done. I'm glad they did that. The majority of the cast, very well acted. There was a couple of times there was a white guy that just felt out of place, and I thought most accents worked really well. There was one guy that went from African to Russian to English, and I wasn't sure which character he was. Actually, I think he was a Russian guy, but I wasn't sure which accent he was meant to have. Maybe that's because he has multiple accents, and so that's why I wasn't quite sure where to place him. Not all of the extras in this series are that good either. There was a couple of times it looked like they didn't know what they were doing. But for the majority of the main cast and the side characters, I thought everybody really was believable in the roles that they played. I'm very excited to see where the storyline's going to go. It had emotional beats for the most part. For me, I was just looking at the scenery as well. Very excited to see what they can do with season 2 and season 3. Hopefully, I feel like this is kind of like a test to see whether audiences love this. That's why it's only got a short episodes, so 6 episodes, but hopefully we'll get 8 or 10 in season 2 if it finds its audience. I'm hoping it does. Fingers crossed. I'd love some of my UK followers and American followers and Canadian followers and all over the world, wherever you guys are watching from, if you do watch this, let me know what you thought about it. Because like I said, I wear my heart on my sleeve, and this is my home country. Well, I guess both. England is definitely my home country now as well. I've been here long enough. But let me know in the comments below if you thought this was decent or you thought wasn't very good, and I'm being a little bit biased, which is more than possible. Thanks so much for watching this review. Do chat to me in the comments below, but most of all, until next time, remember, live long Tuesday.